Because it's something that they put in two different chapters because it's so important.
Oh. That's stupid.
Alright guys, so what I show you today is something that we did the week just before Christmas break. Our book has this in two different spots, and honestly, like, I've had some people retake that quiz and stuff, and I think it's something that we should review. So we're gonna spend one day reviewing this again. So first of all, this talks about angle addition postulate. And what that means is if you have two angles that are right next to each other, if you added this angle, let's just say that's angle 1 and this is angle 2, what this is saying is if you added those two angles together, it would equal the whole angle, okay? Now they do it with naming angles instead of the angle 1 and the angle 2. So if you look here, it says the measure of angle CAB, which is this whole thing, equals the measure of angle CAD, which is this, plus the measure of angle DAB, which is that, okay? So the whole thing equals these two angles added together. It could be as easy as this is 100 and this is 60, find that, and wouldn't that be 40, right? Okay. Now, vertical angles are something that you have to know, okay? And when we have vertical angles, what that is if you have two straight intersecting lines, that means this angle and that angle are vertical, and we know they're equal, okay? So if this was angle 1 and that was angle 2, we could say angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, or their measures are equal, okay? If this was 3 and this was 4, those two would also be equal. So we could say angle 3 is congruent to angle 4, okay? Then another super important thing that we've learned in this chapter is linear pairs. When you hear of linear pairs, think of a pair of angles that form a line. So that would be like angle 1 and angle 2 form a straight line. So what do you think angle 1 and angle 2 would add up to? 180, right? So the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 would equal 180. So again, they could tell us this is 120, find that. What would that be? 60. Yep, 180 minus 120 is 60. And then this is another thing that we talked about right before Christmas break, and that is any time you have two adjacent angles, which means they're right next to each other, that form a right angle, what do you think those add up to? 90. And so that's why it's called the complement theorem, is complementary angles add up to 90. Just like back here, this was the supplement theorem, and that is because linear pairs add up to 180, okay? So for this part, we would say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 90. And they could say, this is 70, what's that?
30.
20, right? Because they just... All right, so just a reminder, supplementary angles add up to 180. And remember, if you're in my room, the top row in the back corner, supplementary, that S is made with 180, okay? And then complementary, the 90, they kind of make into a C and a O. So complementary adds up to 90, supplementary adds up to 180, okay? And then a linear pair I always just try to say it's a pair of angles that form a line. So it would be like this. 1 and 2, they form a straight line, okay? Now, if I look at this one, this is one of the easier questions for sure today. This says angle 2 is 58, and angle JKL, which is this whole thing, is 162, and we need to find angle 1. What would we do? Just subtract. And 162 minus 58 would be 104, and that would be our answer. They're not all gonna be that easy, but.
That makes sense.
So this one says angle 1 is what we're trying to find, and angle 2 is 56, and then this whole angle is 145. Would we do the same thing in this one?
Yeah.
Subtract, yep. So we'd go 145, subtract 56. This would be 89. Okay. Then if I look at this one, they want us to find angle 3, which is right here. So that's our X. And they tell us that angle 1 right here is 23. And this entire thing is 131. Do you guys agree on this one? Don't we know both of these angles? Right? So couldn't we add these two together? And then how would we find that one?
Subtract the number.
Subtract from 131. So we're gonna add together 90 plus 23, which is 113. And then we're gonna subtract that from the whole angle, which is 131, and that is going to be 18. Okay? Then, do you guys, I wonder if I have a cheat sheet that has this on it. I might have to make you guys a cheat sheet, make copies of it.
Oh.
But I just wanna take a peek. If it's not, I can let you guys know once I look after I'm done teaching, if this is on your cheat sheet or not. But guys, but if it's not, okay, we would have you write this down, okay? So I'll let you know after if this is on there or not. But what's gonna happen is they're gonna give you two angles that form a line, and then they're both gonna have an X in it likely, and you're gonna have to set up an algebra equation to go ahead and solve for that. If two angles form a straight line, what do we know about them again?
They're supplementary.
Supplementary. So in this case, you would just set the two angles equal to 180, okay, if they form a straight line. The other thing that you could see on these is you could be given vertical angles. So say this was angle 1 and this was angle 2, you would just know that the measure of angle 1 is going to equal the measure of angle 2. So in this situation, we set them equal if they're vertical. In this situation, we add them together and set them equal to 180. And as I said, once I look for that cheat sheet, I will let you guys know if this is something you should copy on there if it's not. Especially if you think you're gonna forget that. Okay, so this is what your assignment is gonna look like. And when you guys go to do this, the directions are gonna say, find the measure of each numbered angle and name the theorem that justifies your work. These, they set up kind of like an algebra proof like we did and give steps for each one. We did a separate section on algebra proof, so we're not gonna do this. So when you see those directions, name the theorem that justifies your work, you don't have to do that, okay? So now, angle 7 is 5x plus 5, and angle 8 is x minus 5. Are those two angles vertical, or do they form a straight line?
Vertical. Shoot.
Do you see how together they form this straight line,
Oh.
right? If they form a straight line, they add up to 180, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add 5x plus 5 plus x minus 5 equals 180. And for algebra, I wanna see your work. Now, if you had combined like terms right away, that's okay, but I do wanna see some work. 5x plus x is 6x. 5 subtract 5 is 0, those cancel. So that equals 180. Divide by 6, and x is 30. Now, our answer is we need to find the measure of each numbered angle, okay? So what that means, we need to find angle 7 and angle 8. So when I do that, what I would do is put 30 in here to find out what the measure of angle 7 is. So you don't have to write this out, but what you would do is you'd go 5 times 30 plus 5, which is 155. So we're just taking this x and putting it in there and evaluating it on our calculator. So this part, it's okay if you don't show work. Then when I do the measure of angle 8, that's x minus 5. That one you could have easily done in your head. 30 minus 5 is 25. Now, if this was on a test, could you check your answer?
Yeah, by putting it back in.
That, and if you have these two, what should they do?
Equal 1.
Equal 180. And do they, is 155 plus 25 180? So that should tell you you did it correctly. Okay? All right, now if we go to this one, they're telling us angle 5 right here is 5x. Angle 6 is 4x plus 6. Angle 7 is 10x. And angle 8 is 12x minus 12. Okay? Now, I talked about a linear pair. And a linear pair is usually two angles that add up and form a line. But you can have a multiple number of angles that add up and form a line. Do you guys agree these four form a straight line? So what would we know about them then? They would equal 180. They'd be supplementary. Very good. So we're gonna say, doesn't matter which side I start, I think I'm gonna just start over here and go 12x minus 12 plus 10x plus 4x plus 6 plus 5x. So I just added them all together. And what should that equal? 180. Very good. Okay. Now, I need to combine my like terms. So I'm going to combine the x's. This is a thing that I've been seeing on more and more kids' homework as I go through tests and stuff. Do you guys know when you are combining like terms, you never do the opposite of this? Some kids will do this. They'll subtract 10x from here, and they'll subtract 10x from there.
That don't work.
And that does not work. When they're on the same side, you never change the signs, you just combine them. So you think, what's 12x plus 10x? That's 22x. Plus 4x is 26x. Plus 5x would be 31x. So I do not change my signs at all, okay? Now I'm going to combine my numbers. What is negative 12 plus 6? Again, I'm not switching it. Negative 6. Negative 12 plus 6 is minus 6, and that equals 180. Now it's much easier to solve. I'm going to add 6, and I get 31x equals 186. Divide by 31, and x is, if you divide that out, it's going to be 6. Now we're not done, because what I have left is I have to put that 6 into each of these, where you see x, okay? So if I'm doing the measure of angle 5, 5 times 6 is 30. If I'm doing the measure of angle 6, 4 times 6 is 24, plus 6 is 30 again. If I'm doing the measure of angle 7, it's 10 times 6, which is 60. And if I'm doing the measure of angle 8, it's 12 times 6, which would be 72, minus 12, which is 60. So this is our answer. Okay. Now if I look at C, what is this telling us about those two angles? They're the same. Okay. All right. So when I go to do this, there's some kids could tell you right away what those would be. Can anyone do that? If one angle is 90 and they form a straight line, those two angles would have to add up to what?
180.
With the 90. But if this is 90, what would those add up to? 90. And if they're equal, what would they be? 45 is correct. But you don't have to do it that way. If that's hard, don't worry about it. What you can do instead is just write an equation, and it would be x plus 90 plus x. So because those two are equal, I can put in x for both of them. Okay?
Can't you just subtract 90 from 80? 180?
You can, but then those two are equal, so then you'd have to divide by 2.
That was super simple.
Oh, and you can do that if you see that lesson, that's okay. 1x plus 1x is 2x plus 90 equals 180. Then we're gonna subtract 90, and we get 2x equals 90. Divide by 2, and x is 45. But remember, what they want is what is each of these. So the measure of angle 5 is 45, and the measure of angle 6 is 45. Okay. Now let's look at this problem. Okay. Angle 4 right here is 2x minus 5. Angle 5 is 4x minus 13. Do you guys remember if this is a right angle? Do you guys remember how this is a right angle?
Yep.
This is a right angle, as well as that's a right angle?
Yep.
Everybody remember that?
Yeah.
So, one of the angles I have to find is angle 3. Isn't that gonna be
That's easy. 90.
90, right? Just because that forms a right angle. So I can say right here, the measure of angle 3 is 90. And then I need to find the measure of angle 4 still, and the measure of angle 5, okay? Who can tell me some relationship that I know with these two angles?
You add equal them together.
Yes. If you ignore everything else, don't those two angles form this 90-degree angle? So you'd add them together and set them equal to 90. So we'd go 2x minus 5 plus 4x minus 13 equals 90. Now remember, when you're combining like terms, you never change the signs. So 2x plus 4x is 6x. Negative 5 subtract 13. If you're not good
Negative
at
18.
it's negative 18. If you're not good at that, use your calculator. You have a negative key, go negative 5, subtract 13, enter, and it'll tell you it's negative 18. Then we're gonna add 18, and I get 6x equals 108, divide by 6, and x is 16, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is go back and figure each of these out. So for angle 4, that was 2x minus 5. So I'm gonna take that 16 and put it in there. 2 times 16 is 32, subtract 5 is 27. So that is the measure of angle 4, okay? Then angle 5 is 4x minus 13. So you would go 4 times 16, which is 64, and you would subtract 13 from that, and that is, what did I say, 64? Hold on a second, did I do something wrong?
I think it's 18.
Oh, when you divide this?
Yep.
Thank you. I knew something wasn't working out here. Thank you. So this is 18. So then I'd have to change this as well as this. Okay. So if we go back, I would go 2 times 18, which is 36, minus 5, which is 31. Okay. Then I'd go 4 times 18, which would be 72, minus 13 would be 59. The way that I knew I had something wrong, you guys, was these two should add up to 90, and when I was using that wrong x, it didn't, okay? All right, now, let's look at, we have 2 more, right? 2 more? Yeah. All right, this one here, what they are telling us is angle 6 is 7x minus 24, and angle 7 is 5x plus 14. What kind of angles are those? Vertical, and what do we know about vertical? We set them equal. So back to those rules down here. If this isn't in that cheat sheet, you'd write this down. If they're vertical, set them equal to each other, okay? So for this one, I'm just gonna set those equal. So I'm gonna go 7x minus 24 equals 5x plus 14. I am going to bring that 5x over, and I would get 2x minus 24 equals 14. Then I would add 24, and I get that 2x equals 38, divide by 2, and x is 19, okay? Now what I have left to do is I have to put that back in here. So the measure of angle 6 is 7x minus 24. And I have 19. Now that I can't do in my head. So let's, So if we just go 7 times 19, subtract 24, I get 109 for measure of angle 6, okay? Then if I put 19 in for measure of angle 7, that is 5x plus 14, and I'd have to put that 19 in here again. So I would go 5 times 19 plus 14.
Auntie, do you have a calculator charger?
I do.
Borrow it?
Yep, as soon as I get done, you can, yep. Alright. Then, should these two have ended up equal? If they're vertical, they should have. If they didn't, then you know you did something wrong. Okay, last one. We have to find these three, and they give me that angle 6 is 2x minus 21, and 7 is 3x minus 34. Are these two vertical or a linear pair?
Or a linear pair.
A linear
6 and
pair.
8 are vertical.
And 6 and 8 are vertical, very good. So when they're a linear pair, don't we add them and set them equal to 180, right? So what we're gonna do there is go 2x minus 21 plus 3x minus 34 equals 180. 2x plus 3x is 5x. Negative 21 minus 34 is minus 55, and that equals 180. Then I'm going to add 55, and I get 5x equals 235. Divide by 5, and x would be 47, I believe. Okay. Then, last part, I have to put it back into these. So I need to find the measure of angle 6, which is 2x minus 21. So I'm going to put that in here. So 2 times 47 minus 21 is 73. Okay. Then I am going to do the same thing for the measure of angle 7, which is 3x minus 34. So I'm going to go 3 times 47 minus 34, and I get 107. Now let's say you're on a test. Do these two answers make sense if they have to form a line? What do these add up to? 180, and they should. Okay? Last thing we have to answer here is what is the measure of angle 8? We just found this to be 73. So 6 and 8 are vertical, so 8 would be 73. Okay. All right. You may have to give me a second to post this worksheet on Schoology. So give me a second to do that. And that will be your assignment. Just write on the top, if you would, 2-6 worksheet. And then you can work on that. If it's algebra, show me the algebra. If you can do it, like it's an easy one, you don't have to, but if not, you have to.